Hello everyone. My dog thought he should say hello as well. She's literally just come and jumped up. What do you want? Oh, I see. You want one of that? Yeah. Take it away. Come on. Hi everyone. Let's go to the chat. Hi Keith, Jimbo, Katie, Bob, Nikki. How is everybody? Hopefully you can all hear me okay. I haven't quite got the hang of this mic yet. I need to go over here. Heather Brent, hi Heather, says, how sick are you guys getting of this Salisbury story? Very. You know, the strange thing is, I ask people about it all the time, just because I'm curious as to what, I don't ask them leading questions on it. I just think, what do you think about this whole Salisbury Skripal poisoning case? What do you think of it? And I am still, and I must have asked 4 dozen people, I'm still yet to meet to anybody who believes what they've been told by the media. Anybody at all. It's quite amazing. The trust in the UK media has gone through the floor. Keith appears to have inherited a skinny black feral cat. Be nice to it. My neighbour's cats come round all the time. I'm nice to them. Your mic's on. Good. Good. Hopefully. I'll just wait until the people, a few more people arrive, and I'll start, because I need to get onto this Salisbury thing. I was actually going to do a couple of stories tonight, but one of which was about Salisbury, just because I wanted to toot my own horn, because something I suggested in the live stream, but I'll get to that in a bit. But I wanted to talk about it anyway, and literally before I've come on air, there's breaking news surrounding it. So yeah, and hopefully everybody can is getting a better picture as well. Hopefully I've lowered the latency so it can stream better, but I might lose a little bit of quality, but hopefully you won't see the jerkiness. Please let me know if it's worse, not better. Hi Michael. Michael says, Bert, by the way, says it's good to be nice. Yes, it's always good to be nice. Michael Perrin says, hi Gordon, hope your back is holding up. It is. The only reason it's holding up is because the exercise I'm having to do, and this, I'm not exaggerating at the moment, but I've had to be doing hours of stretches and everything each day this week to be able to ease it up. But I've got an appointment with a Thai masseuse on Tuesday. A Thai masseuse. So hopefully, I've seen what they do. It looks like it's painful, so that's what I need, I think. Neil Gardner, hi Neil, says, we live in a strange world where the BBC and Foreign Office are outdoing Prison Planet on unsubstantiated conspiracy theories. I know. It really is quite remarkable. It's almost like the National Inquiry are doing better reporting than the BBC and the Foreign Office at the moment. Bob Crutch says, I fancy old man Skripal had it stashed at his wife's grave, what, like those robbers in the London bank robbery, that jewellery robbery. Keith, the only actual facts I know on Salisbury is that 2 Russian citizens have been disappeared by the British government. Everything else is bollocks and Indian innuendo. That's pretty much the only fact surrounding it, isn't it? The only fact surrounding it is we don't know where the Skripals are, and they've disappeared after doing what looked like a hostage video. Oh, Jimbo, yeah, I did. Jimbo Jones says, see Theresa May's been filmed in soft focus for her Nick Robinson interview. Yeah, I did see that, soft focus. It was a properly softball interview as well. I think it's airing tomorrow on BBC. Obviously, I won't watch it because I don't watch the BBC. I'll get some clips online for it and do a video on it, no doubt, because I'm pretty sure that she's not going to answer any questions importantly. I've seen the clips that they've released so far. She was condemning Boris Johnson for his suicide vest comment. It's like, first of all, if you give somebody the detonator, it's not a suicide vest anymore if somebody else has the detonator, which he says he was giving it to the EU. So, yeah, that analogy didn't work. Uh, 25 now at 4:04 Eastern. Thanks, Steve. Okay, all right, I'll get this done because I've no doubt that people are going to want to ask me questions about this story. So it's only going to be a short one. On Friday night, I did a live stream, and after the live stream, we were talking and trying to come up with some sort of, theories as to who these two Novichok suspects are. And literally just after I stopped doing the clip, we started talking about it, and I said this. What could they be? What would explain their part of the story? But do I need to? See, you could easily explain that side. It was just their role in this story by just saying, I don't know, they could be Russian Ministry of Defense. That would explain it. They could be Russian Ministry of Defense, not actually working for the government, but working for a contractor for the Russian Ministry of Defense. That would be one explanation. And that was Friday, and this is Saturday. Documents reveal Salisbury poison suspects Russian Defence Ministry ties. Give myself a pat on my very crooked back. It does look like this is true, although the information did come from Bellingcat, which is always a worry. The article says documents uncovered by investigative journalists have provided the first public evidence that the suspects in the Salisbury Novichok attack have formal ties to the Russian MOD. A passport information dossier for one of the two suspects bears a top secret marking and a telephone number with the order "Do not give information." The number, called by the Observer on Saturday, links to a reception desk at the Russian Defence Ministry, where the clerk said he would not speak with journalists or provide any information. The documents were published by Bellingcat. Dodgy source, state-funded, have a motive. That's not to say that this what they uncovered wasn't true. The documents were published by Bellingcat, an online platform that began with investigations of attacks in Syria, and the Russian investigative outlet, The Insider. Both sites also specialised in uncovering information about Russian soldiers active in Ukraine since 2014. Other documents published by the two sites included an Aeroflot flight manifest that includes the two men bought their tickets at the last minute, contradicting their claims that the trip to Salisbury had been planned long ago. I don't get that. I've planned holidays abroad and only booked my flight at the last minute. So I think they're onto a bit of a wild goose chase there. There could be explanations for that. It continues, a spokeswoman for the Russian Foreign Ministry rejected the report, writing in a post that she believed Bellingcat had ties to Western intelligence. They do, noting that the group's access to a Russian database is not publicly available. In their sole interview last week, two men who resembled the suspects told Russian state-sponsored television, told Russian TV, in other words, that they had visited Salisbury twice but denied they worked for Russian military intelligence, known as the GRU, or had committed any crime. The men said they were simply tourists on holiday, which, as I said in that live stream, I thought was highly unlikely, but it was plausible. And then I was literally going to talk about this and toot my own horn a little bit, blow my own trumpet, but then literally before I came on air, trouble in Salisbury again on New Street near the cathedral. No sign of what's happened there, but there's one fire engine, one ambulance, and 4 police cars. A man in full white bodysuit with a mouth mask, and police not allowed to tell us what's happening. A few outlets now have reported this. I've noticed before I came here. This is the Huffington Post. The latest surrounding this Salisbury incident. Roads have been cordoned off in Salisbury after 2 people fell ill at a restaurant in the city, Wiltshire Police said. The ambulance service called officers at Prezzo in High Street following a medical incident involving a man and a woman at 6:45 p.m. on Sunday. Police, ambulance and fire services are there. Then it goes on to talk about the tweet that I just showed you. Police added, as a precautionary measure, the restaurant and surrounding roads have been cordoned off while officers at the scene establish the circumstances around what has led them to fall ill. However, people thought I was joking when I said this in the chat earlier. That's the scene there at the moment on Salisbury High Street. But as the Independent said, literally before I came on air, police have cordoned off part of Salisbury after a man and a woman, reportedly 2 Russians, were taken ill not far from the restaurant where Sergei and Yulia Skripal fell unwell after being poisoned with Novichok. Wiltshire Police said that as a precaution, the Prezzo restaurant and surrounding roads were cordoned off. So we don't know yet for sure whether this is some sort of, attack against 2 other people who've been in contact with Novichok or not. We don't know that. We don't know. It might just be 2 Russians that fell ill from food poisoning. Who knows? And they're just taking this as a precaution. But whenever this stuff happens, whenever anything happens with regards to Salisbury now, my gaze just immediately goes to Syria and Idlib, because it is really hotting up there right now. Really hotting up. The talks of a false flag chemical weapons operation happening in Idlib are really heating up. Eva Bartlett was on RT earlier, and the Russian MOD have said, Russian State Department rather, have said that there are reports of 6 videos being filmed by the White Helmets. Now, how much of that is true, we don't know. But there's too much of a connection here with other things with this Salisbury incident for this to be isolated. So I'm going to keep an eye on it and report what I find. Try and read between the lines and find out what the truth is, rather than try and work my way around the spin. It's going to be interesting to see how the media report on this. Really interesting. So I'll keep everybody informed. That's all. Really, all I wanted to do in that video is just to pat myself on the back, because I don't do it very often. I've pretty much got that bang on. So we'll see. Stuart Crossland says Friday's UK column news was very good on the Salisbury farce. I didn't see it. I didn't see the UK column. I just don't get time to watch much on YouTube anymore. I watch a couple of people who drop every video that a couple of people watch, and that doesn't leave me much time anymore, unfortunately. Keith Duran, yes, if you price check flight prices, it's almost always cheaper to fly at the last minute. Exactly. I remember me and my mate, God, what was his name now? Me and one of my mates went on holiday, and we literally booked the holiday off work. We booked a week off work 2 months in advance, and we literally didn't pick the destination until the day before. We just turned up and picked something, because when you do that, you can really get some cheap. We ended up in a 5-star hotel in Crete, which was amazing, and it cost us next to nothing. It was like £100 for a week. Because we left it until the last minute. Let's just move over so I'm more central. That's better. Neil Gardner, what's your view about Vanessa Beeley and Eva Bartlett? Both Sybil Edmonds of Newsbud and Richie Allen believe that they are sad lackeys and unreliable sources on Syria. Right, okay. Here's my view on Vanessa Beeley and Eva Bartlett. Neither of them have ever given me any reason whatsoever to disbelieve anything they have ever said. Sybil Edmonds, on the other hand, yeah, that's Sybil Edmonds, the Is it ex-FBI? I think she's ex-FBI, if it's the right person I'm talking about, isn't it? Is it Sybil Edmonds actually owns Newsbud, and she's ex-FBI or CIA? She was the one that came out was saying that Jen Huger was CIA, remember? It's a bit of a stretch. Thanks, Neil. Thanks very much. Really appreciate that. And I also really appreciate the fact that I don't think you're anywhere near me on the political scale. And, you know, you disagree with me on certain things, but the facts we always, you know, we stick to. So, and you call me out on things when I'm wrong as well. So I like that. Cheers, Neil. Thank you. Jeremy Chase. Hi, Jeremy. I haven't seen you for a while, mate. The only rational response to this is more Russia sanctions. No evidence or investigation. No, not at all. Just bomb Syria. That's what they'll do. They'll sanction Russia and bomb Syria. Because no doubt if this happens, my eyes are wide open to Syria right now. I am expecting a chemical attack in the next few days. I think half the Western world is, to be honest. Keith Durant says about, I think this is about Vanessa Beeley is talking. Yeah, it is. Personally, I consider both of them as honest, reliable sources. Their information has always been independently confirmable. That's the thing. I tend now to take what they say at face value, but when I first started getting interested in, you know, geopolitical stuff, I checked everything and just had to check everything that they were doing, everything constantly, and both of them have proved their worth as far as I'm concerned. Both of them. So, by the way, guys, how's the stream? Hopefully, there's less buffering now because I have to record this and stream at the same time. So, hopefully, I've took the latency down and that has stopped it buffering so much. Michael Perrin says possible US and British forces trapped in Idlib, Syria. I've seen the reports of that, Michael. It's just a mess, Idlib is right now. It's just a mess. They want to open the humanitarian corridors like they did in Aleppo, for instance. And the terrorists, Al-Qaeda, who the UK and the US are protecting, it's ridiculous. It's a farce. It really is. The terrorists have said that anybody who does try and leave through these corridors or anybody who advocates for it, we will kill them on the spot. So the corridors are just out of the question at the moment. I think Assad and Russia have just got to go in there. I really have. I mean, you know, if it was in any of our countries, we would. If the terrorists were in any of our countries, we would. But obviously, they're funded by us. These Al-Qaeda, we're funding Al-Qaeda. It's just. I saw a report today. There was they cleared one area out. The forces did and went in, and they found a load of munitions there that had been manufactured in Israel. Unreal. If it's true, you get a pat on the back, not a reliable source. Yes, James, thank you. Thank you for saying that. Yeah, I did mention it wasn't a reliable source there, Bellingcat. I did say that. So, but yeah, you're right to point it out. They're not a reliable source, Bellingcat aren't. They're pretty much intertwined with, I intertwine them anyway, with the white helmets. That's you know, they're sort of a propaganda construct. However, the evidence that they've produced has been quite compelling, and there is a number on their passport details to say that, you know, you ring and it goes through to the Russian Ministry of Defence, and also, you know, the UK government have been really dodgy, and they really have. Well, I mean that's part of the course. They're dodgy and everything, but they have been really averse to saying what sort of visa they had. So I've got a feeling that there's a lot here that we're not being told. Steve Richter says Jamal Thomas is doing shorter vids lately, Gordon. I think he might be doing shorter vids because he's sort of travelling at the moment. I mean, the last time I saw he dropped anything, he was doing a report from a plane. I don't know which country he's going to first, actually. I know he's going to quite a few. And he's coming over to the UK as well, and we'll get together. It's going to be a couple of months before he gets here, though. I don't know whether he's short of. I don't know. Maybe shorter vids are better. I don't know. Steve, would you want? I tend to just whenever I do watch anything Jamal does, it's just on in the background, and I let him yammer on like he does. It's the way he constantly talks. It's sort of one of the things that endears me to him. Jimbo Jones says we're definitely being softened up for a Syrian chemical attack. That's how, honestly, that's how I feel. Whenever I see anything with Salisbury, I just think, watch Syria. Because if you remember last time, the first time when Skripals were poisoned, Syria, the chemical attack in Syria, I think it was within 5 days. It was definitely within a week. I think from memory it was in 5 days, and then within a week they were bombed, and it all happened so quickly. The public couldn't keep up with what the facts were, especially when you're getting, your facts from the UK British press. Stuart Crossland says, Neil Gardner, it's more likely that Richie Allen and Sybil Edmonds are agents of misinformation. I don't know much about them, but what I do know about Sybil Edmonds is there's a couple of things that she has said. The thing about Cenk Uygur being CIA, that was just pathetic. It really was. I mean, Cenk Uygur, CIA, come on. So I definitely I trust Vanessa Beeley and Eva Bartlett and not Sybil Edmonds. That's my feeling anyway. Possible burglar trapped in someone else's home, says Jeremy. Don't know what you must be talking about, something else. Ryu Proc says Sybil Edmonds is a proven joke. Jeremy, I'm going to make an attempt at some super chats next week. Thanks, man. Really need it. Really need it. Oh, Christian, sorry about Christian Van der Stapp says you are frame drops for me, and then Nicky M says it's fine, Gordon Dimmack. So streams are okay. Good, Jimbo. Thank you. Thank you, guys. What the hell is UK troops in Syria, says James Lindsay? Simple. UK troops are in Syria. Well, I think they're special forces, to be honest. They're protecting their assets. They're protecting their investment. And the investment is the terrorists. That's the way I see it. Lawrence Taylor. Hi, Gordon. I heard that the UK and US forces are trapped. I heard it too. UK column has dropped to 3 a week, has it, Nicky? That's a shame. It needs more views, they do. They need more views, UK column. Neil Gardner. Hi, Gordon. I don't think our analysis is that different, just that the traditional left-right spectrum is superseded. Yeah. I think maybe you're right now. But I appreciate the fact. I appreciate when people call me out when I'm wrong. I think it was you that called me out when I was wrong on Tommy Robinson. I got a feeling it was you that called me out when I was wrong on Tommy Robinson, and I repealed that video, shall we say. Bob Crutch. So if there is a chemical attack, America will strike again, and Russia steps in, etc., etc. Is that it? The problem the Western powers have got this time is Putin is adamant. He's like, you attack Syria, that's it. He's really he's really put his foot down and drawn a line in the sand. I don't think the Western powers really, I mean, it doesn't seem, certainly the Western media doesn't take these threats too serious, but I do. It's a different this time with Putin. He's being, it's like he's trolling the West now. It really is like he's trolling the West. And his rhetoric has become very stern. Whereas the last time Syria was bombed, Putin knew all about it, and he was very quiet. And he didn't say much beforehand. This time it's like, no, it's not going to happen. Keith Durant says, how in the hell are the US and UK governments going to sell fighting alongside Al-Qaeda to the people? Really? Quite simple. They don't. If you look at the BBC, for instance, I check the BBC. I'm a bugger for checking the BBC. I don't use it very often as a source, but I do check it because obviously it's the British bullshit corporation. And it's the stuff that's being fed into most people's brains in the country. But if you look at their reporting on Syria, first of all, everything is under Syrian civil war, which, as we know, it's not a civil war. That's just it's bollocks, is what it is. And if you look at the maps that they draw on Syria, it used to say moderate rebels. Do you remember? They used to call them the moderate rebels, and they'd give a different colour for the areas that the moderate rebels controlled. And then it became rebel jihadist rebels or something like that, and now it became something else, and now it's jihadist rebels. What's closer to the truth is Al-Qaeda, as I did in that last video. It's Al-Qaeda, so they don't actually, because if they mention Al-Qaeda in a headline, or, you know, the first thing that they report on the 6 o'clock news, people are going to go, what? What? They're Al-Qaeda. Why aren't we bombing them? You know? Why aren't we helping Syria and Russia bomb them? That's what most people would say. That's what any normal people would say. This is fucking Al-Qaeda. So it's all to do with the way they report it. If you look at the way the BBC report it, the Guardian report it, the lot of them, they'll mention Al-Qaeda and the fact that Al-Qaeda are in control in that area of Idlib province, but it's like 3/4 of the way down, and it's all in sentences that just they sort of morph into each other. So you read the article, an ordinary person would read the article and probably come away from it thinking, I'm no wiser as to what's going on over there. Whereas what I try to do is try to cut through the crap and just say, listen, this is what we're doing. We're protecting Al-Qaeda in Syria. Unfortunately now, because independent voices much larger than mine have been so loud, now you've got politicians coming forward, and that's when it starts to break through the bullshit from the media, and now we're actually getting to the truth. And you know, you got people like Tulsi Gabbard saying the same thing in her tweets. That woman, I'll tell you, I said about a year ago, Tulsi Gabbard, if she becomes, I said, let me get it straight, I said if she becomes president in 2020, the rest of the world will immediately forgive America for Donald Trump. She's that, I just love her, I really do. Have Syria taken the Golan Heights, says Dave Davis? No. In fact, the Golan Heights have just, I can't remember the exact story now, I saw it yesterday. They have just, there's some sort of permit for oil drilling on the Golan Heights. The company that's got it is a subsidiary of Genie Oil, and the company that's got it, if I might get this wrong, so don't quote me on it, but it is somebody like Dick Cheney's brother or cousin or something like that that owns this subsidiary. I'm going to do a video on it, so I'll check into that next week. But it's something that I saw actually when I was laid up with my back a couple of days ago, and I thought, what? So if anybody's seen that story, please correct me. I can't remember, was it Dick Cheney's brother or his cousin or something like that? Anyway, I'll look into it a bit more. Lawrence Taylor says it might be time to shit or get off the pot for World War III. Sorry, mate, I'm never getting off the pot. That stuff's wonderful. I know that's not what you meant, but still. Christian van der Staap, I find it interesting that Moscow has invited the British police over for coffee. I find that interesting as well. I find it interesting that we're the ones who are meant to have decorum. The British are the ones that are meant to have manners. And in our constant, you know, red baiting of Russia and our constant attacks of Russia, when you got Boris Johnson saying things like the World Cup is akin to the Olympics being held the World Cup being held in Russia is akin to the Olympics being held in Germany in the 1930s. And you've got stuff like, you know, Gavin Williamson saying, you know, shut up Russia and go away. You know, we're the ones who have been aggressive. The Russians, up until recently, were actually really pleasant and courteous whenever they were talking about US, UK. They always say our partners, And up until recently, I think what's happened recently though is they've just fucking had enough, and the decorum's just gone out the window. If anybody saw the Russian State Department spokesman at the UN a few days ago, he's got a really gruff voice. I've forgotten his name now. But if you heard his speech at the UN, he was really angry. To be honest, I'm not surprised. I think the Russians are being treated badly in this whole fiasco. Heather Beren says the US empire last hurrahs in Syria will prove as its pitiful failure. I am not sure why Americans are not saying what the fuck to us supporting Al Qaeda now. It's the media. The media aren't telling them. The media are not telling them. Yeah, I haven't seen CNN or MSNBC. Maybe anybody from who well, I suppose you probably don't watch that shit. But has anybody seen any reports from CNN or MSNBC saying we're protecting Al Qaeda in Syria and getting Tulsi Gabbard on to talk about what she's been saying? Or did Tulsi Gabbard go on the Jimmy Dore show? Personally, I think her going on the Jimmy Dore show is better than going on CNN. I think probably more people will see her. So yeah, that's what I put it down to. I put it down to the media propaganda, not educating their people. Theresa May focus softcore porn. Lawrence Taylor. That would be a really difficult wank. Sorry, I said that out loud. I'll move on. Has Scotland Yard accepted Russia's offer to interview the suspects? I am sure that is a necessary step in an investigation, says Keith Durant. Well, they offered, if I remember, Russia offered to do a joint investigation with the Novichok stuff. They've offered to do stuff all the way along, and we've refused. I mean, that should tell you things are not all they seem to be. And Nikki says the Independent are also saying diners at nearby table said they were 2 Russians. Yeah, I think I said that in the stream, didn't I? Yeah, 2 Russians. That's a bit of a coinky-dink, isn't it? Neil Gardner says, I do find it hard to believe the British deep state is so incompetent. The British deep state, remember, MI6 thought that Michael Foot was a Russian spy. It originally came from MI6. And this whole stuff with this Christopher Steele, I've been trying to piece it together for months, and I've got certain bits in place. But he's the key. He's the key to it all. He's the one who knows. So you can bet your bottom dollar that the British know. And if they know, the Americans will know. And everything around the truth that we're hearing, the bullshit, the propaganda, is smoke-filled Coffee House crap, as that guy in A Few Good Men said. John B says Edmonds burned her bridges with James Corbett over Bartlett and Beeley. They're human shields, not trapped at all. They're human shields, not trapped. That must be the civilians, not the British and American forces. Oh right, UK column are reinstating their newspaper. That's why they're dropping to 3 days. Okay, thanks, Nicky. Stuart Crossland, YouTube are well known for manipulating viewing figures. Yeah, well known for it. To be honest, I don't think their algorithm catches up, to be honest. I think it's a drop in the algorithm. That could explain it. But I certainly think they're put it this way, I certainly think more than 3,500 watched the Jimmy Dore live stream. I certainly think that. Xenu Scientology. Xenu. Thank you. Thank you for coming to my stream, Xenu. The West has the problem that the UK and America have no trust left. I don't think we have. We're certainly not with the rest of the world. It's just jumped massively on me. Thank you, Phil Bertoff. That's really, I really appreciate that. Thank you. He says, keep calling out the lies and deception, the spirit of Assange. Thanks, buddy. Assange, man. They want their hands on him. Keith Durant says, thanks to the Dutch media for forcing the government to stop funding the white helmets. Yes, good. That's a good point. The Moon of Alabama seems to think that it will be, the dike. I've got a feeling that they're probably the UK and US will probably hold off from saying that they're stopping funding, and what will happen is Russia, and they're waiting for maybe Russia and Syria to wipe out these Al Qaeda terrorists, which will happen. I do think that will happen, which is why I think that a chemical attack is almost, is so it is such a possibility. But if they wipe out that part, if the terrorists in that part, you've pretty much, there's a bit of ISIS left, and that's it in Syria, and the rest is Kurdish forces towards the north. So there would be no need for the white helmets there at all. So I think what's far more likely is the UK and US at that point will say, right, okay, the white helmets have done their job, and of course the UK and Canada and France will take them and give them UK passports and America won't take any at all. Hi Katie, how are you, Katie? Katie Geek says, well, Parliament is on break right now and there is a Skripal crop again. This cannot be a coincidence. Oh dear. It's just, every time something happens in Salisbury, I think Syria, every single time. And it's only because of what happened in, March, and the fact that there was those two apparently false flags so close together. Xeno, Russia controls Syrian airspace now. They have a direct route to Syria, says Jeremy Chase. You're incorrect, Jeremy. Russia does not control Syrian airspace. Controls half of the Syrian airspace, I believe. The northern part of Syria is controlled by America. I think that's the truth anyway. Don't quote me on that, but I don't think Russia controls it all. Spirit of Assange, it really was a big compliment, that was, Phil. Thank you. Yeah, well pointed out, Nicky. Keith Durant says, I believe Dick Cheney owns Genie Oil. I'll check. For some reason, I had Dick Cheney in my head. I mean, I was very high because my back was hurting when I read that report. But I was very high and I read it and I couldn't believe it. It was like, Dick Cheney? Are you kidding me? I haven't really looked into the Golan Heights or Genie Oil too much so far, and I know some of the players involved with Genie. I didn't realise Dick Cheney was there. Just shows I haven't really looked at it at all. Okay, Mr. Penny. I'll say, yeah, Penny Fulton says exactly, Katie. That's why the new attack in Salisbury, it's such a worry. It is such a worry that the attack comes, as they are about to have all these conferences and what have you. And then Katie replies, it is Penny, and there's almost zero anti-war movements going on. Hell, in America, Russiagate has got half the population cheering on the idea of war with Russia. That's why propaganda works so well. We need a massive anti-war movement globally is what we need. It's got to be grassroots as well. We need a massive anti-war movement globally. Yeah, Stuart, I will. He says another rabbit hole is a company called Genie Oil. Like I said, I know they're the players in the Golan Heights, and I know some of the players who own Genie Oil. He says who are drilling for oil in the Golan Heights. Please do your research on this topic. I will research it more. But I for some reason, Dick Cheney stuck in my head from when I was high when I read that report a few days ago, and I'm like, I've got to get back to that. I've got to get back to that, and that comment just reminded me of it. Just jumped on me again. Yeah, I knew Murdoch. Keith Durant says Genie Energy's Strategic Advisory Board is composed of Dick Cheney, Rupert Murdoch, James Wolseley. I remember Rupert Murdoch and James Wolseley being part of it. I didn't realise Dick Cheney was there. Just shows how little research I've done on it so far. It's just jumped on me again. Okay, jumped massively on me. Lawrence Tyler says, try putting ice on you about 15 minutes on, take it off for an hour. I'd try everything, mate. I've tried everything. Heat, ice. The only thing really I can do is just the stretches. It really is. It's just, the only thing really that alleviates it at all is the stretches. And the stretches, for anybody who's had back pain, I'll tell you, are extremely, it's just painful. It really is. You have to put yourself through agony, which is why I want to, I'm looking forward to this Thai massage on Tuesday, because from what I can see, it's painful. And that's what I need. I need somebody to push me past the amount of pain that I can physically, inflict upon myself, if that makes sense. JT Zerner says, Gordon, Salisbury is so sad to live in. Drugs are a major problem. I didn't realise drugs are a major problem there. I thought it was a nice, sleepy little ancient city, Salisbury. East of the Euphrates is the line. US is in charge. East of there. Okay, east. I thought it was north. Weed is the solution, Jeremy Chase. You're absolutely right. I don't know what the question was or the problem was, but weed is the solution. I agree. Stuart Crossland says, check out the guy who goes by the name of Blackstone Intelligence. Watched him yesterday. Here's a mine of information. Yeah, I think I subscribed to his channel yesterday. It might have been because of a comment that you left. Guys, and ladies, I'm not responding as much to the comments recently. It's just simply because I'm having a lot more comments and I can't respond to them all. But I do read them every now and then. I'll go in and just read them. And since I've unbanned a lot of people that I did ban, there's a shitload of spam and crap and horrible, nasty comments and what have you below. I'm starting to regret the choice I made to not censor anybody because they've all come flooding. They're all the same people. They're just trolls. They're just trolls, that's all they are. So I think if you just ignore them, they'll go away. But they've been silenced. Some of them have been silenced for about 6 months. And the one guy, the one troll who keeps coming to the comment section, I silenced him, I think, in February, March. And since I unsilenced him, I've gone back and he's commented on every single video I've done, saying things like, oh my god, I'm unsubscribing, I can't stand you, and you're ugly, blah, blah, blah. I think he called me an ugly ass motherfucker or something like ugly ass, whatever it was. But it's an insult every time. What they get out of this, what sick, twisted perversion they get out of trolling people like that, I don't know. But yeah, so I don't read the comments as much. I don't reply to the comments as much, but I still read them. So if you do leave me any information, any link or anything like that, I will get to it usually. Yeah, Blackstone Intelligence, I've covered that. Oil companies are a cesspool of rich people, says Lawrence Taylor. They're killing the planet, I'll know that. Lawrence says, look on Larry, 79115 videos for back exercises. I did, Lawrence. I did. I think you mentioned that in a comment, and I went straight to it and looked. And the exercises that you've got there, I actually already do. I do a lot of yoga and stretches for my back. When it goes like, I should really just do it all the time. Dave Davies says, thanks for letting me chuck the Golan Heights thing in. I feel it's geopolitics writ large with the war with Iran. It's nothing. It is Iran. What you have to. It goes back to, what was his name now? I forgot his name in the early 2000s. They laid out the plan back then. Even before they invaded Iraq, they laid out the plan, and Iran. All roads led to Iran. They have been trying to get Iran back since 1979. They got it back in 1953. 26 years later, Islamic Revolution. They got it back in 1978. They took it ever since, America have been trying to go to war with Iran. It never stopped. All roads lead to Iran. You wait until China start getting involved. Natural progressive, stretches, love it. I'm going to start calling him that. Got to do my stretches now. Stretches. Christian van der Stap says, it's so easy to spot dishonest commenters. It really is. They don't. It's more of honestly, I laugh. The one guy, I don't like the C word. If you know what I'm talking about. There's one guy called me a scruffy, brummy C word. Scruffy, brummy? I'm like, don't you dare call me a brummy. It is funny. They never attack what you're saying. It's just your personal. Steve Richter says, Jamal Thomas chat was unwatchable shite throwing today. He's, his chat was. He's having an argument with some people at the moment. Don't like to see it. Don't like to see it. If you're having an argument with somebody, don't take it public. Lawrence Taylor, back pain is often instability, sitting push foot into forward and then against the other foot 10 seconds. It's a part of it's my own fault. Bob Crutch says, I am not a troll. I know you're not, mate. Neil Gardner, the BBC and Guardian have spent much of the last 15 years drip-feeding us with anti-Russian propaganda and trying to appeal to their left-leaning viewers, readers. From a humanitarian angle, you're absolutely right, mate. And, you know, the BBC have been doing it bloody ever since I can remember. The Guardian, something happened with the Guardian. It was after Snowden happened. It was after the Snowden release. Something happened with the Guardian. Because you remember, Greenwald was at the Guardian at that time. Something happened with the Guardian because of the Snowden stuff. Because ever since they released that, they have just gone downhill. However, I will say this for them. They published something from David Sirota last week. I was like, what the fuck? The Guardian have actually employed a good journalist? I was really surprised. It's amazing. They're terrible, the Guardian now, and they're still the second best media outlet in the country. Xenu Scientology says, read the book Revolution and Counter-Revolution. Free minds can only exist when we are free of the oppression by the capitalist elite. I've got to finish the one I'm on at the moment. I'm still reading 1984. I think I'm only on about chapter 4 of it. Although I downloaded the audio book last night, so hopefully I'm going to get through a hell of a lot more. I did read 1984, but it was back when I was at school. I can't remember most of it. I'm a troll paid by the Kurdish Workers Front. Wesley Clark, thank you, Jeremy Chase. That's the guy. He laid it out back in 2001. He laid it out. All the 7 countries, he laid it out. And they've all been up. That's where the wars have gone. All those 7 countries. And the excuses were just made for it. It was manufactured. Khomeini? Is it, John, I can never get it right. Is it Khomeini or Khomeini? Because when I did my video on the history of Iran versus America, on my video on that, some Persian people were coming to the site and saying thank you for doing the video, for to the comment section. Thank you for doing the video and putting the facts down there. And then some will come to the site and saying I've got the names the wrong way around, and then other people saying no, it's fine, you got them the right way around. So I can never remember whether it was Khomeini who oversaw the Islamic Revolution of 79 or Khomeini. I don't know which one it is, but I know it's one of them. Two-Star says, Gordon Dimmack, great work this week. Thank you for your research. Thanks, Two-Star. I haven't put much out in the last week, mate, because of my back. But yeah, I really appreciate it, mate. Thank you. I'll catch up this week. I've got about 5 stories I want to do tomorrow. Katie Geek says, Gordon, remember that glorious history of Iran US video? Did I just spoke about it? I'd been following, but that motivated me to sub. Oh, have you thought about one on the same lines for Syria? I have, and it's something that. Oops. something that I've been jotting down. I think it's there. I will. And it's not because, a lot of it is not because I want to get other people to understand it. It's that I want to understand it more as well. I want to understand the history. Syria fascinates me. I mean, totally fascinates me. This is a country that is one of the most... Oh, I'm sweating like a nutter. Let me just put the fan on. Just bear me a second. Oops. Yeah, Syria absolutely fascinates me because as Middle Eastern countries go, it's about as advanced towards Western civilization as it can get in the Middle East. You know, as I've said before, his second in command is a woman, I think. The first ever judge in the Middle East was in Syria. 15% of Syria is made up of Christians. It's a secular country. Women can drive. You know, they have all these rights that women in Saudi Arabia don't. Yet we call Syria a regime and Saudi Arabia a kingdom. It's pathetic. It really is. And the more I've scratched under the surface, and the more I've investigated other work that great journalists have done, the more I've understood that we are fed bullshit, absolute bullshit. Syria is a country that it's the sort of country I'd like to go and see. I'd like to go and visit it. I really would. Not now, obviously, but hopefully sometime in the future. I know what you meant, Katie. Don't worry. Neil Gardner says the Guardian editorial team hated Assange even before he exposed the Clinton dynasty and appeared to side with Trump. People keep saying that he appeared to side with Trump. I know, I can understand that because obviously Clinton said she wanted to drone bomb him, and it's probably better for Assange. I can understand it, but I honestly think if he had any stuff on the Republicans, he'd release that as well. Maybe I'm looking at Assange through rose-tinted glasses. But I agree the Guardian editorial team hated him. I really did, even before that. I mean, the hit pieces they keep doing on Assange, it's pathetic, it really is. And that's the Guardian. I used to think they were the cream of the crop. Christian van der Stapp, 1984, the book that only got translated to Mandarin recently. Is that right? I didn't know that. 1984 is great. Like I say, I can't remember. I think I got to like chapter 4 last night. And he's really writing in the book now. You know, he's really writing in the book, and I'm liking it. I'm gonna like it better listening to it audio book tonight. Just jumped on me massively again. John B says, I just googled it. Khomeini. Okay, thank you, John. I did get it the wrong way around then. Yeah, Nicky says the same. So, smart audience, man. Many youngsters think Big Brother is a reality TV program, says Neil. Neil, you're absolutely right, mate. Not anymore, though. They've cancelled it, haven't they? Channel 5 over here, Big Brother. This one that's happening now, I think they've said it's going to be the last one, although, Christ, I never understood it. Big Brother and Gogglebox, those are the two things. Those are the two although to be fair, Gogglebox actually was quite good on occasion. Big Brother and Gogglebox was Big Brother essentially was people sitting in a house doing nothing, watching people sitting in a house doing nothing, and Gogglebox is simply people sitting in a house watching TV, watching people sitting in a house watch TV. I never understood the concepts of both of them, and especially with the Gogglebox, I remember thinking to myself at the time, can you imagine being, the guy who was brainstorming new ideas for a TV show on Channel 4, and the guy came in and said, I've got this great idea. What it is, right, we'll do a program about people sitting down, watching TV, and commenting on it. Can you imagine what his boss said? Get out of here, Tom. You high again? Oh, Nicky, I'm designing a T-shirt with the Make Orwell fiction again on it. Make Orwell fiction again. Excellent. Animal Farm is pretty good one, says Jeremy. If only Orwell were alive to see the capitalists were the ones actually carrying out Animal Farm. I cried when I read Animal Farm. I was about 12, but I cried when Boxer was taken away to the glue factory and he was too old and he couldn't break down the doors. I just saw something about Damascus. John says, "Do you know Damascus topped the BBC's top tourist top tourist place to visit in 1990s?" No, I didn't. Damascus. I would love to visit it. I really would. Not at the moment, but Keith Durant says, "Love it, Nicky. Put me down for one of those T-shirts." That's a genius idea. That is. Make Orwell fiction again. No, Robert says, "Gordon, is democracy just for the right wing?" No. Democracy is for everybody. It's just at the moment the only people who actually have democracy are the rich. The rest of us don't seem to have a say. Bob Crutch says, "A fan gets some ACU type bugger." Yeah. We don't have air conditioning in the UK, mate. Probably, I don't know. You tell me, guys from the UK. How many people in the UK think actually have air conditioning in the house? It's not a high percentage, I don't think. We don't need it. Wave the Wall says, "Got your book off Amazon today." Thanks, man. Dude, I could read it from 10 foot. Good show. Thank you. Thank you. I did try and make the words big. So anybody short of sight could hear it, could read it rather. Nicky says The Guardian used to be a great paper in the 90s. You're absolutely right. Absolutely used to be. Not anymore. Heather Bren says, "It's hard to turn on the TV anymore where everything is military or pro-police or rewrite history of this. Oh, love our vets and military crap." It's actually, it's I worry about it. I do, because overt nationalism like that is one of the big signs of fascism creeping. And it really has been ramped up in these last 2 decades. There's no question about that. You know, you start looking at freedom fries and blah, blah, blah. It's a worrying time, it really is. Oh, right, okay. Thank you, Krishna. I didn't get your joke, mate. I didn't get your joke. I didn't. I'm thick. I'm stupid. It was a good joke as well. Gav said a while ago that he was converted to Zionism. No wonder he avoids questions, says Way of the Rules. It wouldn't surprise me if half the Tory party were, to be honest. It really wouldn't. It's just jumped massively on me. Right. Ugh. Lawrence, I'm sure Orwell is rolling over in his grave, mate. I think you're right. When I finish, I'll let Gordon sell it and help for the channel. Oh, thank you, Nicky. That's wonderful. Thank you. As JT Zuni, both Gogglebox and Big Brother were experiments in social manipulation. Imagine the info they got and they're using now. Exactly. Very true. Very true. And obviously all the people that voted, they've got all their information. They know which people get involved in that sort of thing. I'm glad I'm on. Natural Progressive actually just said the Animal Farm made me cry too, but I'm a huge animal lover. That's why I cried. I'm glad I'm not the only one. I was about 12 there. The bigger message escaped me back then. It escaped a lot of people in my class simply because my class was really quite unruly. I didn't go to a very good school. It's bloody excellent now though. My old school is. For instance, I remember Macbeth was on the English curriculum, and because about 5 or 6 kids couldn't understand it, and weren't willing to try and understand it. It was dropped from the whole thing, and I was really looking. It was one of the things I was really looking forward to. So I kicked up a stink about it. And whenever I had an English class in future, and the book that they picked to replace it, I used to go and sit outside the headmaster's office and read Macbeth. That's how much of a geek I was. That was a long time ago now, though. Keith Durant says Israel did last night attack Damascus with missiles. Syria claims to have shot them all down. I saw the pictures. They did look like missiles being hit, but there was no confirmations of it. I think to say that Israel, it wouldn't be a surprise to say that Israel would do that. I totally believe the narrative that we've been told on that one, definitely. And that's worrying as well. Israel firing missiles at Damascus. 2 more people falling ill. Syria happening. Old-fashioned aircon, open a window, exactly, Casey. That's what we do in the UK. I've forgotten who said that now. Definitely must be from the US if he thinks that UK have got air conditioning. We've got no need for it. Well, we have now, with it being hot. Keith, I do download NCIS episodes to know who the CIA wants me to hate next week. NCIS used to be brilliant. That was one of those programs that I actually used to watch. Really, I was conflicted with Ziva David because I thought she was wonderful, but she was Mossad, so I was conflicted. It used to be really good, that program. Really, went to the dogs quite rapidly there. Phil Burtoft, America under Trump does like the big bully in the playground. He's playing a very dangerous game because he's alienating a lot of countries against him. A lot of countries against America. And that's a dangerous game to play. I've got to look more at South America because I think China are filling. You know, Keith has sent me some good links on the Belt and Road Initiative in South America and Venezuela with China, and I really do think that there might be a light at the end of the tunnel with Venezuela, but I've got to look into it more to come to some conclusions. But the signs are better. Fingers crossed they're going to pull themselves out of it and get from underneath the thumb of the frigging IMF. It's jumped on me massively as well. Xenu Scientology, you're absolutely right. Against the interest of the people, the only way they can hold power is if they lie to the people. Ignorance is strength. I think that's one of the slogans in 1984, isn't it? Xenu again says Israel had dozens of airstrikes over Syria over the years. Israel have just they're the 51st state of America. That's what I call them. Thomas Rittenhouse, hi Rittenhouse. Hello from Tigard, Oregon, US. And as for the bully, yes, the US military-industrial complex has 900 bases around the world, and the second country is Russia with 18. End all wars. I think you'll find Russia have 9, not 18. China have 1. I seem to remember China having 1 base. It was in Djibouti or something like that. But yeah, I think Russia have 9 bases around the world. And also, the US military-industrial complex has 900 bases around the world. I actually think that's an underestimate because if you listen to Julian Assange, he says it's 1,400. And that was a couple of years ago. He did an interview. So, yeah, I would think it's definitely over 1,000. Christian van der Stap, finding truth is so hard. Who is right on the missile stuff? One says, just jumped on. One says they hit, the other says they are shot down. We need public sponsored spy stats. It's really weird. I'm getting better at it, is what's happened over the last 2 years since I've been trying to look at, the media, because I have to use the media outlets that I know are lying. I know most of the stuff that they lie about, but in with their reports there are elements of truth. They don't. It's not as if they just put out stuff that's 100% incorrect. And Abby Martin said this a few weeks ago. And I thought that's a really good analogy. It's sort of, you have to sort of weave your way through the, you know, the state media outlets of the world. So you've got Russia, you've got the BBC, the British, then you've got obviously the cable channels in America. These are all, as far as I'm concerned, state media, just the same as teleservice for, you know, there's some South American countries. So you know that you're not going to get the whole truth from any of them. But if you can piece them all together, so you can piece a bit from the BBC, a bit from Al Jazeera, a bit from RT, you can piece them together to get you know, to get what the truth is. And I'm getting better at it. There's an art to it. There really is. And sometimes I read stuff and then the facts will come out later and I've done a video in between and I thought, damn, I missed those really good points. But I think I'm getting better at picking them up now. But you really do have to weave through a lot of the bullshit with regards to the state media because they've got a massive amount of money behind them and they, you know, they do some good reporting, especially with the newspapers. There's some good reporting. The Washington Post even do good reports. New York Times is the same. But you have to be able to differentiate between what's bullshit and what's not. And I think that's where independent media are doing well in. Because this is one of the sort of, it's one of the main drivers for my channel is calling out the bullshit in the media. I'll make that a mission of mine, making a mission to call out bullshit and propaganda in the media. And when you're doing that, you do get a sense for, I can honestly pick, if I hear something has happened now, I can pretty much write the BBC article in my head before I even go to the article itself. And the article in itself will be pretty much exactly the way I picture it in my head. For instance, whenever they talk about Syria, I'm reading the article, I know what they're going to say even before they say it. I know they're going to go straight to the White Helmets, although they don't do that anymore on the BBC since the White Helmets have been called out so much. But I know they're going to go to this Syrian Observatory for Human Rights, which is a guy in Coventry who apparently was, did I read, he was arrested he was thrown in jail for fraud in Syria. You know, now he's got a £160,000 grant, I think it is, from the UK government. And he's one guy in Coventry on the phone all the time, and the BBC call it the Syrian Observatory for Human Rights. I'm gonna call me. Think of a name for what I do, an organisation that I can use as a propaganda construct. The Syrian Observatory for bullshit propaganda or something like that. Let me just turn that fan away. Because maybe if I did that, I'd get a £160,000 grant from the UK government. Lee Davenport says something interesting here. Lee Davenport says Cuba is the best place in the world. People power. I had a conversation with a friend of mine. This is going back. We went on a trip to Madrid. A load of work people did when I actually worked for somebody else. And I remember having a drunken conversation with a guy who went to Cuba every single year on holiday. And I was talking to him about it, and I didn't understand. I mean, this is going back 5 or 6 years. I mean, I understood what the basics were. But he was telling me that Cuba is a wonderful country. It's the best country he's ever been to in the world. And he's now a pilot. He's been to quite a few. And he said the problem with Cuba is nothing to do with Cuba. The problem with Cuba has everything to do with America. And that, I don't know, there's sort of a switch went in my head. I mean, this is going back 5 or 6 years, but there's a switch in my head that sort of think, hold on a minute, that's totally contrary to everything I've ever heard about Cuba. And I think that might have been around the point where I started, you know, giving a shit about what was going on in the world. I don't think you're going to see. I don't think you're going to see many foreign bases built by China around the world, Zini. I think China are quite happy with their rather massive country. Yeah, I don't think you're going to see many Chinese bases opening up around the world. Let's face it, America are going to get involved and stop them anyway. Thank you, The Natural Progressive. I really appreciate that, guys. I really appreciate it. No, thank you, the Natural Progressive. I couldn't do this without your help. I really couldn't, and I really fucking struggled for 6 months. I really struggled for 6 months. I mean, struggled to literally put food in the fridge. And I wouldn't have been able to get through it without your support and the support of my family and the people around me. But it is getting to the stage now where I might be able to stand on my own 2 feet very soon, and it's only because of you that I can do this. So I really appreciate, if you can't afford to send me $1 a month, and I know money is tight, share my stuff. I appreciate that just as much, because I'm damn sure that YouTube aren't going to send many viewers my way. Man, this just jumped massively on me. Whoa, just jumped again. Shit. Right, where are we? Two's Time says, would you research Israeli influence in the UK and give a short opinion or link to previous work? Monday, 17th of September, Israel's attacks on Corbyn / coordinated brackets Jewish Chronicle, Michael Footsmeyer. Video coming tomorrow, mate. I haven't seen that full documentary yet. We need to watch that full documentary. I don't think it's out yet, though. Chamchi Gimgap just says, I want to talk to Gordon. Talk to me then. I'm here. Talk to me. I'll get you if I can see it, if he doesn't keep jumping on me. China is building in the sea. No, Bubblevis. China is building in the China Sea. Nicky M says you should get Chamchi Gimbap on the channel one day. I don't. He says here he is. What is your impression of the left in the UK? Here's my impression of them. When people say there is a cult of Corbyn, right? When people like J.K. Rowling, for instance, says there's a cult of Corbyn, she's right. There is a cult of Corbyn, and I've seen it. It isn't the majority of people. Don't get me wrong. The majority of people just want a decent life for themselves. But there is a cult of Corbyn and they have a pack mentality. They do have it, and you may be a Corbyn supporter, and you will say, no, it's not like that. And I'm not saying you all, every Jeremy Corbyn or Labour supporter is, but there is a cult of Corbyn, and I've seen it, and I know where it is. It's in Facebook groups. Go to Facebook and join a couple of Jeremy Corbyn Facebook groups, and you will see what I mean. It's a cult-like mentality. You cannot say anything in those groups that is negative towards Jeremy Corbyn or Labour and expect not to get a shitload of abuse. I remember this is going back a couple of years. Just when I started getting interested, I was actually doing some work with regards to internet marketing in these groups, and I remember saying something about how I'm not happy with the fact that he will only say in his manifesto, Corbyn, that he supports marijuana for medical use only. I wasn't happy with it. Oh, you should see the amount of crap I got just for saying that. So that's what there is a cult of Corbyn. However, that is not the left, so to speak. That is generally what I found with looking at their profiles and all that sort of thing. They're younger people. And I'm not going to come down on them too hard just simply because, they are younger. When I was younger, I thought I knew everything as well. But I think the left needs to it always comes down to the same thing with me. The left needs to call the media out more than they do. I see them doing it on Twitter a lot. I'd really like to see it more. I really would, because the only way the media is going to change in this country is if the people make them change. So that's my impression of the left in the UK. There is a cult there. There is a cult of Corbyn, without a doubt, but it's not. What I hope is this cult of Corbyn, if you like. I don't like that saying, but it's the people that J.K. Rowling sort of talk about. They're ruining it for everybody else. They're ruining it. They're ruining the movement for people who actually do have a brain in their head and will look past the partisan crap. That's my impression. Somebody else said that. What's your impression of left in the UK? Wasn't the most succinct answer, I don't think that is. Maybe I haven't thought about it a lot longer. Neil Gardner says, Cuba's great, but if you travel off the beaten track and stay in the B&Bs as I did, you'll find infrastructure like electrical wiring and plumbing very shoddy. I went to... When I had my own business, Christ, this is going back a while now. My business was doing quite well. I was one of those pricks with a Rolex. I've still got one actually, but I had this Rolex, and I remember I was in the Dominican Republic, and I had to walk. I was in one of these all-inclusive hotels in the Dominican Republic, and I had to walk down the beach about 4 miles to go to a cash point, because the cash point in our complex wasn't working. And instead of walking back along the beach, I decided I was going to come back via the road. And I couldn't believe the difference. I couldn't believe the difference. As I got out from the complex onto the road, I walked down the road for about 5 minutes, and I thought, I'm going to have to turn back here, because people were looking at my watch. They were looking. I thought, I'm going to get mugged here. I'm going to turn around. And just as I turned around, a guy on a motorcycle stopped, and I thought, shit, he's going to mug me. And he went, taxi. Showed me his thing. You don't want to walk down here, mafia. So I think, Neil, it's a similar experience. I'm not sure whether the violence would have been the same, but off the beaten track in the Dominican Republic was the same. It was just shacks, and the people over there were just lovely there. Thank you, Lawrence. I appreciate that, mate. Thank you. This just jumped massively. And thank you, Hedy Lukiel. Hopefully I've pronounced it. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Every single dollar helps, man. Every single did. Chamchi Gimgap says, I'm a leftist. I wouldn't. Leftist. Do I like that? Truth seeker. I think I'd rather be called that than a leftist. Tooth time. Despite your back pain, I really think you produce quality and considered work with reporting. Thanks, man. I am conscious of it. Chamchi, you said wasn't your question. Okay, I think it was. Yeah, I appreciate that, Tooth time. I really do. Stuart Crosland says Corbyn is just demonised for questioning Israel. I think he's demonised for more than that, but questioning Israel is definitely one of them. I think being anti-establishment is another. But then, there are people that saying, hey, Israel have got their fingers in all sorts of pies. And from the reports that I've been seeing recently, they fucking have. I mean, for instance, you got Netanyahu, you got Michael Gove today. Ellie, excuse me. Ellie, go lie down. Leave the fox alone. Sorry, a fox comes around at this time of night and the dog goes nuts. What was I saying? I forgot what I was saying now. See, you made me lose my train of thought. Don't you growl at me. Here's a kiss. Come on. Sorry, I lost my train of thought then. I do apologise. Yeah, that was it. Michael Gove today in that interview that he did with Andrew Marr. He said that the excuse for not condemning Hungary's government was that he doesn't get involved with the internal politics. The Tory party don't believe that getting involved with the internal politics of a foreign country is the right thing to do. It's like, are you fucking kidding me? Netanyahu literally might have just called Corbyn a twat right to his very face. He did it via Twitter and all sorts. And that's what Netanyahu's doing. And you guys didn't say a fucking thing. Yeah, so don't give me that bullshit. It's just, they don't get involved, but they've got no problem with Israel getting involved in our internal politics. Drives me mad, these the hypocritical statements do. John B says Corbyn is far from perfect, but he's the best we got. I agree with that. He's not perfect. People do think he is there. People do think he is. Thank you, Gabriel. I do feel the love from Sweden. Thank you, man. I really appreciate that. It's just jumped massively. Okay. Howiness says, how would you personally answer the how would you pay for it question in a short and precise way? Jake Tapper's biased interview with AOC today was a disgrace for any journalist. Oh, for fuck's sake, he didn't interview AOC. What the fuck is she doing going on CNN? AOC Tapper, I'll check the interview. So I asked him, how will you pay for it? It's quite simple, really. How would you pay for it? Withdraw troops from half of the 900 bases around the world. I would cut the military budget by 200 million to start with in the same year, if possible. I would put an incremental tax on the richer people rather than giving them away $2.5 trillion tax break. These are the things that I'm sure she. If she didn't come up with those three things to start off with, her advisors need fucking firing. Is that what I'm getting from this, Howiness? That she didn't answer in that way? She didn't answer by, saying, well, close 40% of our bases abroad. Bring back the troops that we've got and the troops we've got stationed in 56 of the 57 countries in Africa. So did she say any of that? Did she say anything of that? Oh, well, maybe we shouldn't build that $250 billion fucking drone thing that they're building in Africa right now. I hope to God she did, because if not, she is really falling out of favour with me. Because that's the sort of shit that she would have had down pat on the campaign trail. I really do hope that she nailed that question. It's an easy one, that is. How do you pay for it? Well, don't give a $2.5 trillion tax. I'm going to go on a rant. I can see that being a video tomorrow. If she hasn't answered that question right. Average Joe says, Champchi Gimgap and Captain Switzerland have YouTube channels covering UK politics. It would be good to see left-wing UK choose. I know about Captain Switzerland. I know Captain Switzerland through JJ at Up Next Quarter's Talk. Send me an email, Champchi. Maybe we can do something. Email's on the About thing on the channel. Right, okay. Champchi Gimgap, can you do a call in? Not at the moment, I can't. I don't have the facilities at the moment, but maybe I will do in the future. By the rule says, Gabriel, you're a gem. And he's right, you are. Thank you. The nicest Nick Griffin interview on YouTube is quite interesting. Stuart Crosland says that. I'll have a look at that if we get 5 minutes. Everybody loves that dog. Everybody loves you more than me, It's not surprising. I think I do, to be honest, as well. I talk to that dog too much. I really do. What does the fox say? The fox says a fucking horrible scream is what it does. It wakes me up in the middle of the night. Chamchi Gimgot says, I think I'm falling in love with you now. Thanks, man. Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Dave Davis, IOC, no answer required except it's cheaper. Done. I hope it's easily done too. And this is the thing. She's got to answer that question perfectly. She's got to. She's got to point out. Well, first of all, you know, I assume you mean the healthcare system. She's got to point out. Well, first of all, it's cheaper than we're already paying. I do hope she answered that correctly. What's your take on Tommy Robinson trying to join UKIP, says Stuart Crossland? I am not a big fan of Tommy Robinson. Tommy Robinson, I wouldn't be surprised to find out that he's being directly funded by Israel. That's the truth. He's not an honest actor. He's not an honest actor. There's too much dodginess there with him. Israel's got something to do with Tommy Robinson and him joining UKIP. I mean, it's just. I'm not a big fan. I'm not a fan. I'm getting to the bottom now, guys. Need Gordon on Swiss Channel. I've heard of Captain Switzerland because I know JJ has spoken to him, but other than that, I haven't seen anything of his, to be honest. Cortez said last time, why do we need to defend ourselves all the time when increased military spending automatically passes? Paraphrasing. Yeah. Okay. That was a decent channel. That was a decent answer she gave. But, you know, I mean, I just gave you 3 things off the top of my head that would have been good answers. She should have that down pat. I would really, really be disappointed if she didn't answer that with an absolute barrage towards Tapper. That guy is an absolute arsehole, he really is. Liam Bobrick says, the second bottle of Novichok seems to have been meant to be found and used for fatal effects and not murder evidence being disposed of. It does, but disposed of after a crime. It does seem like that Novichok thing was just deposited in that charity bin just for somebody to pick up and divert attention away from whatever. It just seems like a massive fucking psyop, to be quite honest. I'd like to see Gordon on Switz stream. I gather that means Captain Switzerland, says Wensler. Switz is a great host, but rather toes the newspaper's line. Okay. Two Times says, did you see the Chem Prof has been arrested? The Chem Prof? Chemical Professor? I don't know which one you mean, mate. The one who wrote the book on the Novichok? Is that the one you mean? Katie Geek says, Chamchi Gimgot, get in line, man. Gordon is the closest I have to a bit on the side. My husband on his way to bed says, I'll see you up here when you're done with this clever Scouse guy. I'm not a Scouse guy. What is your chosen weapon in a zombie apocalypse? Kitana sword. Tommy is an ultra-Zionist, says Barney. Okay, somebody agrees with me. Xenu Scientology. Russell Brand is quite interesting. Never realised he's anarcho-syndicalism. I've got a love-hate affair with Russell Brand that goes back about 20 years. I remember him being on, I think it was radio, it might have even been Radio 4 years ago. I mean, I'm going back like 20 years, and I was driving back from somewhere, and there was this guy. It was like 4 o'clock in the morning. It must have been right at the start of Russell Brand's career, and I was driving back from somewhere. I had the radio on, and this guy was coming out with all these long words, and this, you know, was having these strange sentences and stringing these. And I thought, what the fuck is this guy? Is this guy on drugs or something? And little did I know that he probably was at that time. But I thought he was an absolute idiot. I thought he was one of those people that use long words to try and make themselves look clever and make everybody else look stupid. And I didn't like him at all. And then he did the thing with Jonathan Ross, which I do think was blown out of. I think it was in bad taste, but I do think it was blown out of proportion by the media. And I didn't like that. And then he went off and became a film star, and I couldn't stand that. I didn't watch any of his films just because I couldn't stand him. And then he married Katy Perry, and I couldn't stand her either. And I can't stand that guy. I hate him. And then all of a sudden, I think he interviewed David Miliband, if I remember right. And I listened to him and I thought, hold on a minute, what's happened to him? That's not the guy that I remember 20 years ago. This guy's talking sense. He's not talking bollocks anymore. What's happened? I don't know what happened to him, but all of a sudden he just stopped talking bollocks. In my head, Russell Brand stopped talking bollocks about 6 or 7 years ago or something like that. And then all of a sudden I liked him. And now I can't stand him again. in the last few months, he keeps popping up on my Twitter feed. He thinks he's Gandhi or something, or bloody Buddha. And he's got to the stage where I'm not sure whether I like him anymore. But he talks a lot of sense, Russell Brand does now. I certainly realise, if people don't like Russell Brand, I understand, because I was there. What's your favourite TV shows? Game of Thrones, average Joe. Game of Thrones, average Joe. Game of Thrones is good. Better Call Saul is good, but really slow. It's really slow going, that is. I don't actually have a TV in my flat at all, so everything I get I download. Yeah, Better Call Saul, obviously Game of Thrones. But other than that, the ones that I really liked have stopped now. They ended them. I really liked. There was one called Person of Interest. That was excellent, I thought. And there was another TV show that I loved that was based on the film Limitless, called Limitless. I thought that was really good as well. They only did 2 series and then cancelled it. Cancelled all those shows and then renewed Supergirl and crap like that. But that's Hollywood for you. But I actually don't watch much TV anymore. I don't watch. With regards to British TV, I don't think there's anything. I don't think there's anything I watch at all. I'm trying to think if there's anything I will. No. No. Oh yeah. 8 out of 10 Cats does Countdown. I think that's the only thing I'll watch on British TV. And even then, it's not a regular thing. Even then, it's just I'll download it just if there's nothing else to watch. Lawrence says I haven't watched Russell Brand for years. He's confusing me. He really is. I used to hate him, and then I started to love him, and now I started to think he's gone back to being a prick again. I don't know what's happened to him. Happiness says, unfortunately, I wasn't satisfied with AOC's answer today. Just warning you, you definitely won't be. I'll keep my hand for Jack Tapper though. If you're on that interview today, microphone. Okay. I've got a feeling everybody's going to be doing a video about that if she did an interview with Jake Tapper. Best porn name ever. Barney says the Skripal thing is a big soap opera psyop. It does seem like a psyop. It does. Give Russell a hit. He has some good interviews in the Occupy time, says Zini. He did some good stuff, especially around Occupy, right? Trained second degree black with katana, says Chamchi Gimgat. Well, there you go. It's a good answer I gave them, wasn't it? Lost a lot of respect for AOC, says somebody, and then it's just jumped on me. After she played the game, read Death of McCain, to be honest, says Jimbo Jones. She went too far with her eulogy of McCain, saying he was a patriot and he'll be sorely missed and he served his country well. That was all she needed to say. She went overboard. I lost a lot of respect for her when she walked back her stance on Palestine. I've got to be honest. I do feel as if she totally walked that back. And that was pressure that made her do that. You sound like one of the characters out of Peaky Blinders, Brummy, says Average Joe. Oh, that's the name of the character. I'm not a Brummy. Russell and drugs, hell yeah. Chris Busby. Okay, right on the Ken Prof. Deserves a name. Chris Busby went to BBC to say Novichoks were not hard to produce and government story is nonsense, says Wensler. They're not. There's several of them as well. It's not. The thing is, it's not even Novichok. It's A233 or something like that. It is. It's in the group of Novichok, but it's not actual. You know. Oh well. Two's time has British Anders been arrested this weekend? Yes, chemist PSG contradicted whole script. Okay, all right. He's been arrested, so he's contradicted what the British. Oh, okay, I see now. She's named Busby. I'll look into it. I haven't heard of that. Haven't heard of it. Jimbo Jones, Brand's very Marmite for me. I think he's Marmite for everybody. Here's a fun fact for you. I've never had Marmite. Ever. And I never will. Chamchi Gimgap says, what do you think of Tony Benn? Tony Benn is a true politician, a true truth teller, a true man of character. That is my opinion of Tony Benn, and I wish more people in the Labour Party since then and now are more like Tony Benn. Tony Benn, you know, George Galloway is in the mould of Tony Benn. He was great. He really was. Somebody just said, it just jumped on me, but so I don't know who said it, but somebody just said, Benny's a hero, his son is a twat. That thought did go through my mind as I was explaining it, honestly, it really did, but I stopped short. I thought, no, I'm not going to come down it. Thank you for saying it, whoever said it. You said it so I didn't have to. It was by the rules. Yeah, the establishment sank Russell Brand in a flash. Shows you the strength of Corbyn, says Bob Crutch. You're absolutely right, mate. Katie Geek says, BBC South of England correspondent Duncan Kennedy says an eyewitness spoke of a woman becoming hysterical in the restaurant, repeatedly standing up and sitting down. That has got... Should we see if there's any updates on it? Let's see if there's any updates on it. Actually, if I pause this, no, it's okay. There probably won't be any updates anywhere on it. No conscience, no conscious. It's not, doesn't look good. Does not look good. He added that Public Health of England were aware of the incident, but there's no suggestion that this is connected to the Novichok incident back in March, says Katie Geek. Okay, we'll see tomorrow. I'm sure they'll try and connect it somehow, even if it isn't. Christian van der Stapp says, by the way, do you trust your gut if you see someone talking? Like if I see Putin made that person is from Israel et al. I have a kind of bullshit. Yeah, I've got a bullshit radar. I've always had it. My flatmate used to fucking hate it. When I had a flatmate, not far from here actually, just going back for quite some time, but he hated me because he used to every now and then lie to his girlfriend, and he would lie to me as well because he wouldn't trust anybody with his secrets because he thought maybe I could use it again. He was one of those people who was very wary. He was a decent guy there. And I remember the once he would come in and he would talk to his girlfriend, and you know his girlfriend would go away, and then he'd come in and sit down, and I'd just look at him and go, "You never lie to me like that, do you?" And he used to fucking hate it. I've got a good bullshit radar, I think. So yeah, I'm the same, Christian. There's certain people in the past as well. I think there's certain incidents in the past where, you know, where there's been a fire and the people are on TV and they're saying, "Oh, we need." There's certain instances in the past where I've gone, "I reckon it's him. I reckon it was the dad that did it," and I've been right. Two times says Gordon Dimmack, read person of interest, see Susie 3D, first video on her channel Unity 4J. I'll check it out. Man, I do hope that Unity 4J movement keeps going. I really do. I hope they don't fracture. I've seen some fractures recently and it's not good. The fighting between the left and the right, and the fucking the alt-right sort of hijacking it and what have you. Not good. I hope it continues and people actually come together, because the movement's not about them. It's about Julian Assange, and people need to remember that. I think Liam Burbrick says, I think it's the new Beard Russell is sporting that's swaying your opinion. No, it's the fact that he keeps putting videos out on Twitter talking like he's fucking Buddha. That's the problem. The beard doesn't bother me at all. The problem is what he says. He's become sort of all new agey and thinks he's some sort of I don't know. I'm not saying he's not good. He might be brilliant. It's just this not something that I like. If God has grown it, it's okay. It's if I smoke, it says Zena. Championship political hero. George Galloway. Yeah, George Galloway. Because he did what was right, knowing it was going to cost him his political career. That takes fucking bollocks. He did what he did with the Iraq War, knowing that what he was doing was right, that he was going to be on the right side of history, but he also knew that he was going to be vilified and smeared and slandered in the press, and he also knew he was going to be blamed for stuff that he never did, and he knew it was going to be the end of his political career. I really do believe that, and he still did it anyway. That takes balls. So yeah, I'd say George Galloway. A234 Novichok is an organophosphate like Roundup. Thank you, Neil. Didn't know that. Neil Summer said that. Heather Brent says everyone has been talking about the Mueller stuff from Friday with Manafort flipping. Oh god, this is brilliant. I was going to tweet this out, and I thought, no, I'm not going to, because I've sort of been on the last few months. I've pulled myself away from talking about TYT because, as we know, I sort of have a problem with them talking about Trump constantly. But you know, don't know, as long as I've got a problem with them doing that. But hey, it's Jenk's channel; he can do what the fuck he wants on it. But Manafort, obviously, details of this plea deal came out, and Jimmy Dore tweeted it out, saying, you know, how can he's not flipping on Trump, for fuck's sake. He's doing a deal to give away stuff to try and get less time. That's what it is. He's not flipping on Trump. And Jimmy took the piss out of it on Twitter. And I went over to YouTube, literally after reading that, I went over to YouTube and I went to my subscriptions. And in my subscription channel, at the very top, TYT were going live with their, you know, it's a 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock stream over here. And the caption was, Manafort flips on Trump. It was just, I thought I'm going to tweet that, but I thought no, I'm not going to do it. I'm going to stay away from TYT. They can talk about whatever they want to. He's not flipping on Trump, fucking idiots. You don't flip on somebody after you've been Sentenced. Dennis Skinner is another great MP. I know who you're talking about, don't know much about him. You should listen to some of his speak, they're brilliant. Say Shahid Rahman. Shahid Rahman. Thank you for that, mate, I will do. I know who you're talking about, I just don't know a lot about him. Like, I mean, I've made no secret from the past, secret in the past that I do know more about American politics than I do about UK politics, but in the last few months I've really started to study UK politics a hell of a lot more. I did notice today that my tip to become the next leader of the Conservatives has said that she's not interested. Ruth Davidson has come out, she said that she's not interested, so that might be one of my... It wasn't really a prediction though. I think it was more of my pick for next Tory leader. Bob Crutch says anybody trips over in the street in Salisbury and it will be terrorist linked. Well, no, it won't be terrorist linked. It will be Putin's fault. What are you doing down there? What? George is a good one. He kicked ass in the Senate, says why have the rules. God damn. That speech he gave that congressman. You could see Galloway. In his eyes, he's got... You can see he's like, you know, I want to jump over there and throttle you. It was brilliant. That speech was fantastic. Okay, the natural progressive, yeah, get outside. You go outside, enjoy yourself. I'm just getting down to the bottom now. John B says I read Russell's book, Revolution. A bit disappointed that his solution to everything was the 12-step program for addicts. I think it's helped him massively in his life, and he thinks that it will help other people, and it has. It's not for everybody though. Average Joe, are we in danger of repeating the mistakes of the past in Europe with the far right making more and more gains across Europe? If we have another economic crash, these nutters will get into power. They will. I don't think they will over here, but in other places around the world, I think they will. Thank you, Gordon Dimmack, says two's time. You're welcome. Latest state of the movement was a bit more positive, but we have to maintain faith. Left, right, Catholic, Muslim, Christian, Jewish, does not matter. Unity 4J. Exactly. It's not about that, you know, it's not about the people in that movement. It doesn't, you know, who the people are in that movement is fucking irrelevant. It's irrelevant. And people need to get this through their heads. It's not about them. It's not about them. It's not about what beef they have with the other people in it. It's not about it. It's about Julian Assange. It's about you know, it's about free speech. It's about freedom of the press. That's what it's about. It's about the fourth fucking estate being dead and Julian Assange being the only one who was alive in it. That's what it's about. And these people in that Unity 4J movement who keep arguing with each other and playing left through right, they need to be booted the fuck out, is what they need to do. Because it's about Julian Assange, that movement is. Unfortunately, the people at the top and the people who are moving it forward, Susie and the others, they know it's all about Assange. But the people in it, they need to understand. It's not about them. It's not about whether they've got a beef with anybody in there. It's not about whether somebody doesn't like Cassandra Fairbanks or not. It's got fuck all to do with that. It's about Julian Assange. Galloway was a boxer, says John B. I didn't know that. I didn't know that. But he did look like he was he wanted to jump over that platform and punch that senator. Chamcha Gimgap says, what do you think about Marxism? Don't know. I haven't looked enough into it. All I know about Marxism is stuff that I've learned from Richard Wolff. Will I tell you? And it's interesting, but I haven't formed an opinion of it. I don't really know too much of his teachings and what have you, to be honest. So I will look into it at some stage, but calling out the media bullshit is more important for me at the moment. Thomas Rittenhouse says politicians are just the butt puppets of the 1,500 billionaires that profit from us killing and blaming each other. We don't blame each other, mate. We blame the poor. Fucking, there's that meme, wasn't there? War is billionaires convincing the middle class to blame the poor, or billionaires convincing millionaires to convince them to blame the middle class, or something like that. Ellie, I know you're protecting me, but go and lie down. Go on. Not watched 2YT since Anna got married. I didn't realise Anna got married. Bob Crutch. Didn't realise she was married. I know she was engaged to some baseball player or something like that, wasn't she? I'm getting down to the bottom now. Who did Anna marry? Corey Booker. It says Jeremy. Yeah, it's some baseball player. I know she was. Free Assange says Dominic Bashumi. Yes, Free Assange. Nicky M, I joined Unity 4J because the video you did on it, you're Gordon Dimmack. Thank you. I do research, proofreading, started a new Twitter account, etc. Excellent. Well, good for you, Nicky. He needs all the support he can, man. I'll support him as much as I can, doing videos and highlighting his plight and what have you. But I think more people need to get involved in it. People don't realise, man. It's so important that he does not get handed over to the Americans. It's so important because if he gets handed over to the Americans, that's it. They've won it. They've won the game, man. They've won it. Average Joe says Jimmy Dore must be banging his head against the wall listening to 2YT. You must. You got. I think he does. I don't think he. I think he doesn't bang his head against the wall from outside either. He does it from inside and in full view of Cenk. It's kind of good to see, to be honest. It is kind of good to see. Cenk still is, I mean, Aggressive Progressives, I believe, is the most watched show on 2YT. Yeah, I bet Jimmy talks about that a lot. Wolf is a great guy, says Championship. Yeah, no arguments there, he certainly is. Swiss newspaper says 2 people poisoned in Salisbury today, says Lawrence Taylor. I talked about it earlier, mate. Wensler says, please cordon off part. Yeah, I talked about it earlier on the screen. Marxism explains the flaws in capitalism. Yeah, I understand that bit. That's why it's useful to know whether you agree or not, particularly nowadays. I understand sort of I don't want to get too much. I understand his leanings or his teachings with regards to that, just because of what I've heard from Richard Wolff. I just don't know enough about Marxism to be able to comment on it. That's basically what I meant. But with regards to the stuff I've heard from Richard Wolff in interviews and whatever he's done, a lot of what he says is like, well, that just makes perfect sense. It makes perfect sense, makes perfect sense. The situation we've got at the moment is not because capitalism isn't working. The situation we've got at the moment with all the money going to the 1% is because capitalism is working like it's supposed to. That's the problem, and it inevitably leads to this point. So I think that's what Richard Wolff tries to get across, and I do agree with that. Dave Davis just says Blythe. Fuck yeah. Mark Blythe must be Mark Blythe. That guy's just brilliant. Thomas Rittenhouse, I am kicked off Facebook for 2 or more weeks for posting footage from Yemen that was unapproved by ? Whoever at Facebook, and have been flagged for 60 days. Just fucking delete your account, Thomas. If you don't need it for your business or anything like that, just delete your account. I deleted Facebook, I think, back in March this year, and it was one of the best things I did. I used to go on Facebook and come off Facebook after half an hour of messing about. I used to feel bad. I used to honestly feel depressed for people on there. I used to go to political groups and look at what people were saying and just think, you can't think that. You can't honestly think that. You can't honestly think that that's true, but they do, and it used to make me feel bad for the state of education in the West. Right, getting down to the bottom now. Do you have any comments on UBS or UBI? Says Champchi. I'm looking into UBI. It's interesting, is what it is. It's interesting. Mark Blythe says that it's inevitable. Mark Blythe says it's inevitable that sooner or later a left-leaning government is going to say, right, okay, we're going to give people money. We're going to give people a standard of living. Sooner or later, that's going to happen. Mark Blythe says it's inevitable. And I wouldn't be surprised if he believes it's around the corner. I'm interested in UBI. I think that is something that maybe we could go down. However, I'd prefer to sort out the living wage situation and fucking get rid of the 0-hour contracts and all that bullshit in this country before we start going down UBI. And definitely sort out universal credit. I did a tweet last night about universal credit. It drives me mad when I see stories about it. I said in a time of because I'm reading 1984. I said in a time of universal credit, telling the Tories to fuck off is an obligatory act. I was quite proud of that. I think it got about 3 likes. Oh, sorry, mate. Sorry, Google user. I haven't got used to this mic yet. Oh, I see. Right, okay. How's that? Is that better? Average Joe says Steve Keen is another interesting economist, similar to Mark Blythe, worth a watch. That's a name that rings a bell to me. Steve Keen. But maybe because there used to be a footballer called it, but I'll look into it. No. Too pale, Khan says, love you, man. Love you too, buddy. Love you all, actually. Yanis Varoufakis says, wave the rules. I don't know what you're saying that to, but Yanis Varoufakis is very good, that's for sure. And I've just realised why my dog is... What's the matter, Ellie? You want to go out? Yeah, she wants to go out. I'm going to have to wrap this up now, folks. Yeah. Jeremy, I think you're right. I had a headache earlier and I don't know who to blame. Blame Putin. Blame Putin. It's all Putin's fault. Right, I'm going to have to wrap this up, guys, because the dog wants to go out. As usual, just thanks to you all for your support. I couldn't do this without you. Every good comment, every time you help me out with a share or the patrons I think are fantastic. Anybody who sends me a few bucks here and there or shares my stuff anyway, just thank you from the bottom of my heart. I really am trying to get better at this as well. I know I'm not the finished article by a long way. I think I've got a long way to go. I think I can get better at this. I really do. And with your support, we can maybe start something that will, maybe change a few things. And God knows the world needs fucking changing right now. Thanks very much, everyone. As always. Peace. Take care.